How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Nerdy Basement Podcast. I am your host, as always, the OG Osmosis, or just simply Ozzy. I brought back the old school introduction, by the way. That's not how I
Call
introduced
it
myself
that.
last time.
Call it that.
But
Couldn't you
I
have
am your
waited until
host.
finishing the
I mean,
introduction?
I
Damn.
could have, but I was like, oh, wait, hold on. This is not the original podcast. And theoretically,
Oh
it is, but it's just a
goodness.
relaunch. It's your boy, Ozzy. Joining me, as always, is my co host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Eddie.
Obviously, we're the Nerdy Basement. We're back with another episode of the new Nerdy Basement podcast. We're reviewing something that's extremely fantastic.
But a bump.
As we said, exactly.
Yes,
But before we even get into our review of the obvious, the Fantastic Four First Steps, we do want to take a moment to give everyone a massive shout out, a huge thank you, a show of love and appreciation for all the engagement we got for that debut episode a couple of weeks ago with our Superman review. So a huge thank you to everybody. We got an uptick in followers, an uptick in engagement, an uptick in YouTube subscribers, TikTok followers, all that good stuff. We got some good engagement, especially on TikTok, to be completely honest with you. We got a lot of engagement on our Superman clips. A lot of the things that we were saying were really resonating with people. Obviously, you had one or two little trolls. Oh, you guys still talking about this whack ass movie? You know what I mean? But it's like, come on.
That's fun. That I'm glad that they're on it, because I'm like, but they actually took the time to actually write something. So thank you.
I mean, no, of course. Thank you for the engagement. You know what I mean? But everyone is kind of like, like trickling in again and shit, like kind of showing that support, which is honestly, I wasn't expecting it with that debut episode, to be completely honest with you, because I'm like, we haven't dropped a podcast episode in almost a number of years. You know what I mean? It's like to kind of relaunch it again. We don't know if we're gonna get the same viewership, the same audience. You know what I mean? People kind of faded and out and stuff like that. But I'm glad that we kind of got a little bit of buzz, a little bit of support. It's exclusively streaming on YouTube. Obviously, we'll be posting clips on Instagram Reels. We'll also be posting clips on TikTok and things of that nature. So that's where you guys can catch those clips, those shorts. We'll also be on YouTube as well. We started posting some on YouTube, and they've been doing pretty impressively, to be completely honest with you. Got a decent amount of views on a few of them, obviously. Nice. But that's all we got for that initial episode. I mean, there's not much to say other than just, again, thank you for the support. And if you guys want to continue supporting the Nerdy Basement, obviously subscribe to us, give us a like, a follow, all that good jazz. We'll say all that at the end of the episode anyway. But this episode is dedicated.
Right now. The first thing, guys, if you're already listening, and just then click on that subscribe button, because that's obviously the only thing that's going to keep this channel going. And
obviously, for sure.
You know what I mean? Simple as that. Honestly, that's the number one thing. Just subscribe, show us some love. Randomly drop a comment. We should be able to reply to you, hopefully. And,
I try my best to. I try my best to reply to everybody. If you don't get a response, we're just too busy. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
It is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But as I say in my TikTok videos, make sure you guys share with your friends and family, but most importantly, share with your grandma, okay? Share it with grandma. Grandma needs to know how to enter the basement. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Okay.
I think grandma should be included,
Okay.
But
we'll talk about that later.
That being said, let's get into the Fantastic Four. All right. Nice. Spoiler-free thoughts first, obviously. All right, spoiler-free thoughts, because I do want to talk about some things. I don't want to dive into spoilers right away, because in the spoiler section, there's specific things. Obviously, you've seen the show notes. I specify some very specific things I personally want to talk about. I'm sure.
Wait, are you telling me or are you telling the viewers?
I'm telling everyone in general. I know. That's what I'm saying. The show
Don't
notes.
tell them how the sausage is made, dude.
No, you gotta tell them a little bit.
Illusion that we know what we're doing. Okay.
No, we know what we're doing. This is just
off the cuff. Okay, come on, man.
No, not off the cuff. Not 1,000%. But I'm just saying, for the most part, these are my spoilers. I'm sure you have some specific spoilers that you may want to talk about that I haven't written on here. But again, let's start it off with you, Ed. Let's get into your initial thoughts on the Fantastic Four. And
spoiler not free. Spoiler free.
Yeah, this is spoiler free. So for everyone who has not seen it, this portion is for you. We'll give a spoiler warning for those who have not seen it. So
So no, and like honest initial thoughts, I thought it was great. You know what I mean? Fantastic. Even obviously, this is definitely one of the
Hmm.
this was a winner, simple as that. Like, don't get me wrong, I can still say that I was a fan of the very first iteration that they did back in the day with Sony and all that kind of stuff. And because
Fox.
again, that was the first time they ever did it, right? And but what they did here, bringing it back to truly the roots of what the Fantastic Four was and was created for, they did very well with this. Cast did great.
Hmm.
The visuals are really wild, like really well done. Um, and they, you can see that they actually really did put a lot of care into this one compared to the last few films from Marvel putting out. Like, this
Absolutely.
one
Hmm.
felt like, was there any major rewrites? Was there any like CGI issues? Anybody overworked? This and that. This felt good. It felt fluid. It looked like they had all their shit together, all their ducks lined in a row. And I
Hmm.
had a good time. I had a good time all the way through. Just watched it this morning. And, I guess, my major complaint. No, I don't got one. I really don't.
Oh,
I
you don't
really don't.
got one. I have a few actually,
Right now,
but yeah.
if I do, it's probably going to be more, more like Easter eggy moments. I guess maybe that can
Hmm.
be some of my complaints. But this is also a world that we have to like they made into a utopia for of the Fantastic Four. So
Right.
that's like a very different type of take that you can be used to. That they don't have anybody else there, and you just gotta But like when you take this movie as is, takes you know that it's just a Fantastic Four movie. First steps for multiple reasons, because it's the first time
Hmm.
they're bringing in the Fantastic Four into Marvel Studios, is not under the Sony banner, and first steps
Fox.
for
Fox.
another
Just
reason.
wanna correct you real quick. It's done under the Fox universe.
Yeah,
That's where
and
it's
they're
from.
all that's what yeah, Sony, Fox, whatever, whatever, whatever.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
So
but I loved it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
no, that's great. I'm on the same boat. I enjoyed it. There was I had some good expectations for the movie. This out of all the three comic book movies that released this year, or at least this summer, this was the one I was like the most
Mhm.
like hyped for. This was my
Yeah.
on the top of my highly anticipated list. I was hyped for
Mhm.
Superman and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
not as much as I was for the Fantastic Four. Now going in, I was extremely nervous. I know the bar was set extremely low. It was like at the pits of hell. It wasn't subterranean, so it's like,
But
come on, you know what I mean? So passing surpassing that bar was gonna be at best relatively
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah, yeah.
However, the room for error was as big as Galactus. You know what I mean? Like the room
Mhm.
to really fail and not knock it out of the park
There, you're
was.
really trying to get these punchlines in here. Fucking hell.
I rehearsed this the other before getting on the pod. You know what I mean? No, but honestly, that's how it was. Like it was
Mhm.
an exciting movie from start to finish.
Yeah.
I felt like the pacing was fine. I would have wanted to see a little more um of them like in their prime those initial years. We didn't necessarily need
Mhm.
an actual origin,
Yeah, yeah.
like a 30-minute origin, like setup and all that stuff, or
Mhm.
for them to fight one villain to then go into the big bad Galactus, like some other movies, tend to do, or have we done in
Mhm.
the past and whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but I wanted to see a little more of that. We obviously get some nods to some of the other Fantastic Four villains and whatever. And later on in the movie, we'll get into spoilers whenever that comes up and whatever. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think it worked. Honestly, the direction was great. The story was great. The pacing was great. Some
Mhm.
visual issues here and there, but power wise, specifically, those were I feel like that looked extremely well,
Mhm.
especially for Reed Richards. You know what I mean? But the soundtrack
Mhm.
that's been like on repeat in my head, and I just been like like just singing it out loud
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all day since I got out of the movies yesterday. So I think I think it was a good movie. This was one like you said, it's you can tell that a lot of care and a lot of attention to detail went into
Yep.
this particular movie. Not
Mm-hmm.
to say that they don't do that with other Marvel movies, but we haven't had a movie from Marvel in a number of years that
Yeah.
has felt this well put together. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like from start to finish,
Yeah.
how much they cared about the characters, you know what I mean? How much they cared about
Mm-hmm.
the story they wanted to present, how
Yep.
much they cared about the big bad,
Mm-hmm.
Galactus, well, they actually cared about Galactus for once, you know what I mean? He
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
a giant fart cloud, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I have my grips with some of those things too. But for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, I think this was a fantastic watch. It has some really emotional moments. It was
Mm-hmm.
at its core, what the Fantastic Four was truly about is they're a family. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
this movie was about. It was about family
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and what you can overcome as a family and
Mm-hmm.
those trials and tribulations that families may encounter, especially with a new baby on the way. Granted, not to the stakes of Reed Richards and Sue Storm having a little baby Franklin, you know what I mean? And having
Mm-hmm.
this big deity, this godlike being wanting to consume said baby. But, you
See, now
know,
you're getting into spoilers, bro. So,
no. That wasn't a spoiler because that's been known to the general public for quite some time. You know what I
well,
mean?
I
Marvel
made
did
sure I
confirm.
didn't watch enough to
No, no,
know.
no.
I didn't know
You
that.
didn't
I
need
didn't even care
you didn't
to
need
find out. And
no, no.
so,
That may have been spoilers for you, but the general public did know that Galactus wanted baby
Mhm.
Richard, baby Franklin
Okay, fair.
going
Okay,
into the movie. But
fair enough.
yeah, again, I
Mhm.
enjoyed it, man. I thought the Silver Surfer was also great.
Mhm.
I thought Johnny Storm was great. There's some things specifically about Johnny Storm that I really want to highlight when we get to the spoiler section. But yeah, overall, man, I thought it was a really really good movie, honestly,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much all from my spoiler free thoughts. Because then
Mhm.
if I keep rambling, I'm gonna definitely jump into spoilers. So I think we should
Mhm.
just like you know.
Yeah,
So
let's do it. Yeah.
again, for those who have not watched Fantastic Four, that was your
Mhm.
portion of the video of the
Yes.
podcast.
Mhm.
Obviously, pause it now, go watch Fantastic Four,
Mhm.
come back, and finish the rest of the podcast. For
Mhm.
those who have watched Fantastic Four, want to hear our thoughts on the spoiler on a spoiler level, and even those who haven't watched it and still want to know spoilers, this
Mhm.
is we're gonna get into spoilers now. So
Yeah.
you've been warned. Um, we're not sorry for spoiling the movie. You've been warned. So yeah, let's get it. Let's get into spoilers, man. Enough beating around the bush. Let's get
Yep.
into the Fantastic Four themselves, the
Mhm.
heroes of the show, the movies. Let's
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
into Mr. Fantastic himself first.
Yeah.
Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal. You know, there was a
Yes.
lot of backlash about this
Mhm.
casting in particular. So
There's always going to be backlash about everybody. It doesn't matter. It really matter because obviously they're not going to look exactly like their like animated, illustrated counterpart. It's a
yeah,
comic book, people. There hasn't been anything about it so far, and you just have to take it as they chose him for a specific reason. I thought the cast together, they were solid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know, Ben Grimm wise, he becomes CGI only, but the performance, at least from him as well, on top of the fact everything was, it felt like they were honestly they were my favorite part of the movies. You know what I mean? Them
hmm
together. Every time they're together, it's some of the best scenes because it's like, as you said before in the spoiler free, they're family. They're supposed to, be together. And, that interaction, that family interaction, the annoying little brother that ends up always being a pain. Then those little
hmm
tidbits in between of them, just messing with each other back and forth and everything that is wholesome. And it's like, but that's also honestly half the time when you read them in the comics, that's how they filled up some of the pages. They're doing
hmm
stupid shit half the time to each other because that's just what they do, and like they touched upon that with the Fox universe. You know what I mean? Like, the jokes between and the pranks between Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm and all that kind of stuff. But sorry, I digress. But like, because I'll backtrack. But with Reed, I thought Pedro Pascal did amazing job with him. I really liked that he brought the tone of like, this is a man that is so freaking smart. Sometimes he forgets how smart he is, and his emotional intelligence isn't there.
right.
So he's
hmm
going to miss so much because even though he thinks he's helping, sometimes he's doing something that's really effed up because you can't do anything about it. It's literally Rick and Morty situation. We have a man that is too smart for his own good and doesn't give a shit. Not literally more of Rick, but you know what I mean? Reed does his thing and you know, he's trying his best, but with what he knows and what he can do. And but when
Mhm.
it comes down to it, it's like you know, sometimes he needs to take that step back, and then these guys bring him back in, and they humanize him again because they're like, no, it doesn't work like that, Reed. We're just not little, you know, mathematical equations for you to like to move around and shit.
Right.
And I thought
Mhm.
that was lovely. I thought everything about that was great. And you know, with the powers, you know, it was subtle, and I don't think they overstretched him. Yeah, I had to do it. Um,
Shh.
everything, you know what I mean? And I think that was well done because it's like the stretching looked good, but you know, we didn't need to see him get to the point that then you start seeing wonky CGI. And I think
Where it starts
that
looking a
made me
little
feel
goofy,
better.
you know? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
know, and then again, in the comics, this man can stretch technically from like miles apart from himself. You know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
he can stretch from the Baxter building all the way over to Midtown with no issues. You know, and like you know, like that's one of the things in the comics though, but to do that for CGI and all that kind of stuff, I'm glad they didn't do it for at least for this one. And you know, so it's I thought he was solid.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the performance.
No, absolutely. I'm right there with you.
Hmm.
I wasn't put off by Marvel's casting him as
Hmm.
Reed Richards. Honestly, I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, this will be interesting.
Hmm.
Can he capture that characterization of Reed Richards, like you said, someone who's not, who's the smartest man in the world, but is not as emotionally intelligent as he may need to be. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I feel like they showed that. You know what I mean? I was telling
Hmm.
my girl, like I was like, we were talking about it, and I was like, Reed is obsessive. You know what I mean? He
Hmm.
is very obsessive with his mind, his thoughts, his
Yep.
equations. And he wants to solve everything. It's not,
Yeah.
and like you mentioned, everything is not an equation. You need to kind of
Hmm.
think outside the box sometimes, And
Yep.
it's like seeing him always at that drawing board, or always at the chalkboard. Like, okay, what equation can I use to kind of solve this problem that we're kind of facing? You know what I mean? And not
Hmm.
necessarily always get the answer. It was like, okay, Max Shackman, you really you nailed down Reed. You understand the
Hmm.
character and you understand how this man thinks, how this man is
Hmm.
supposed to be, and I think Pedro actually delivered on that front.
Yeah.
The powers themselves also, he didn't look as goofy as he could have looked. Completely honest, it does
Yeah.
make me a little upset that we didn't get this with Miss Marvel on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think we yeah, we definitely weren't really happy with the power swap, but
you know what I mean? Is like if you were
it,
able to do
yeah.
it for Reed Richards and it looks this good, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Why couldn't we do it for Miss Marvel?
Yeah.
And granted, I guess I can understand the reasoning
Hmm.
given how they changed certain things about the character. But either way, I digress because this is not a Miss Marvel review. But I just
Hmm.
wanted to make that comparison because these are two
Yep.
characters within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at
Of
least in
course, yeah.
Marvel Comics universe, that have stretchy powers, especially that Kamala Khan can embiggen herself. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and Reed Richards can
exactly. Yeah.
also do the same thing to some
Hmm.
degree. So it's like,
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Marvel, if it looks this good, I hope you could have really just done
Well,
that a long
and
time
if you
ago.
remember too, they technically the first Reed Richards that they showed in the Marvel Studios, you know,
And Multiverse of Madness,
in
yeah.
Multiverse of
John
Madness,
Krasinski, yeah.
they did a similar thing. They showed him stretching a little bit more, you know what I mean, here and there, but
Hmm.
also it didn't look goofy, even becoming spaghetti during that movie. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
still it looked
Exactly. That's
solid.
true.
You know, so it's like we knew they had it. I think again for whatever reason they needed to choose their own way, but like they knew how to
Yeah.
do it. Simple as that. They know
No,
how
no,
to do it.
for sure, for
I
sure. But
who
again,
knows what reason.
I appreciated
Mhm.
Pedro Pascal as Reed
Yeah.
Richards. I think we'll see more of that characterization
Hmm.
once we get to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, where
Yeah.
the stakes are a little more higher and we got to deal with Victor Von Doom. You know what I mean? But we'll
Hmm.
elaborate more on that later
Yeah. Totally.
in the show.
Hmm.
But yeah, let's move on to the Invisible Woman, Vanessa Kirby,
Oh,
Sue Storm.
yeah.
And man, she was great. I knew
Hmm.
once they cast Vanessa Kirby, I was like, nah, that's Sue Storm, and she's gonna
Yep.
nail it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And she
Yeah.
did. She owned
Hmm.
the fuck out that movie. Honestly.
If we're being honest, yeah, she stole the show for everything, and I think they there's nothing. It's I think it was easy for her to steal the show when it comes down to this is
Hmm.
a mother trying to protect her baby at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And freaking probably in that universe at least, birthing the first child in space, like or the first Earth kid in space, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Hmm.
going in faster than light travel. I'm pretty sure that was a first for them too. And like, but everything, yeah, powers felt genuine. Her power set is bending light, and it's not force fields. It's she's able to create force fields through bending the light in reality. So that's where
Hmm.
her power set is. So that's why she can bend the light around herself, go invisible, and
Hmm.
hold people and so on and so forth, or like push and such. I'm surprised that they honestly chose not to show that she can technically fly, because she's done that before. She's made like little
She's
invisible
little
discs.
platforms. Yeah, the little
Yeah, little
platforms that she
platforms to
uses. We
move
did we get
herself,
we did get to
you
see
know.
that in Rise of the Silver Surfer though,
Yeah,
with Jessica
exactly.
Alba's Sue Storm,
Hmm.
where she only did it like a few times, and she was getting
Exactly,
pushed off the
CGI.
cliff or something like that. But
Yep. So it's like
that's neither
I'm
here nor there.
surprised they
But
didn't go that. Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised they didn't go that route for some reason. But it was fun seeing them hop in and out of the Fantastic Car and all that kind of stuff. That was like fun little moments and everything like that.
no, that
They
was great.
really utilized their Fantastic Car and such, and everything else about it. I think again, yeah, like you said, Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby did so well throughout that whole freaking job. I like that movie. It felt good. You know what I mean? It's like again, genuine
No, it
performance.
felt it
You know
felt
what I
good, and
mean? Yeah.
I also like that they just like Reed Richards. They wrote her like
Hmm.
she is in the comics. She is a
Hmm.
strong-willed woman. She takes
Yeah.
no shit, and she knows how to
Hmm.
challenge Reed, and she knows how to put him in his place. But she also knows how to ground him, and she knows how to
Yeah.
keep him there. You know what I mean? Because he
Hmm.
can get a little crazy. He knows how to
Yep.
spiral, and again, he's
Exactly.
obsessive. So
Hmm.
she knows how to, and I like that they showcase. I was like, the scene that did it for me, that nailed it for me, for them, for Pedro and Vanessa as Sue Storm and Reed Richards,
Hmm.
was when they had a little argument in the nursery
Yeah.
in front of the
Hmm.
baby. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw that, I was like, okay, I wanted, once that scene started kicking off, I was like, okay, I want to see if they really nail that dynamic between
Hmm.
Sue and Reed. I
Got
want to
it.
see how she, you know, brings them down, not in a bad way, but it's like, I'm
Hmm.
here, I'm still here to support you, but I kind of need to like need you to kind of give your reality check a little bit. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
was like,
Hmm.
and once I saw that scene play out, I was like, no, they fucking nailed it.
Hmm.
They nailed it. And then obviously Pedro and Vanessa were able to encapsulate that in their performance. So
Hmm.
that was great.
Yeah.
That was a scene that sealed it for me with them
Yeah.
as our heroes. You know what I mean?
No,
So
I feel you. Yeah, yeah. No,
I'm
I
I'm
hear you.
glad I'm
Honestly,
glad
I
we got that
expected her to
scene.
start changing the diaper at that moment during the argument because that's a
I
real
thought so too, but
marital
that
argument. Like
because
I'm like that
because
would have been real
in
as
real
hell.
life, in real life,
It's
if
like you
if
pass
you're
me that
bickering
fucking
like
diaper
that,
right now.
yeah,
Just pass me that shit.
exactly,
I gotta take care of this.
absolutely, absolutely.
I thought that would have been a real moment right there. But yeah, no, that scene was great. They have a lot of good scenes throughout the
Oh,
whole movie, and I
throughout the
think
whole movie,
everything's so well done.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
and then obviously next up Johnny Storm, the
Oh,
freaking
Johnny Storm, man, he
so
was a
well done.
highlight. Joseph
Yeah,
Quinn, man,
yeah.
Joseph Quinn. I not that I
Mm-hmm.
had my doubts, and I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna take over on this one too because there was he was
All
one
right,
of
go for it.
the
Hmm.
standouts for me too. Obviously, so we've all seen Chris Evans as the Human Torch. We've seen him in
Hmm.
two different Fox movies.
Hmm.
We got to see him obviously go up against the Silver Surfer, Norrin Rad, and Rise of the
Yep,
Silver Surfer. We also got to see his return in Deadpool and Wolverine
yep.
for a nice cameo. So I'm not saying that there was a sort of like bar to meet to some degree. There wasn't any sort of expectation. I know a lot of people
Hmm.
hold Chris Evans' Human Torch in high regard, but granted, we haven't had many live action versions
Mm-hmm.
of the Human Torch. So that again is another bar that's kind of like, in my
Yeah.
opinion, a little low and kind of
Mm-hmm.
easy to surpass. Um, but one thing I appreciate about this version of Johnny Storm is that he's not just a ladies' man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we
Yeah. Yeah.
got it in this movie, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not the end all be all of Johnny Storm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I got and I appreciate that we got to see him flex his smarts, his muscle, and show how much he actually cares about things, right? Other than just wanting to get with women. You know what I mean? And that was
Mm-hmm.
something I was like, no, yeah, again, you guys fucking did it. You guys did it. He's an astronaut. He's a
Mm-hmm.
scientist at the end of the day. Yeah, he can
Mm-hmm.
give all the women he wants, but show me that smart side of him. The fact that he was able to figure out all that stuff with Shalabal, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. I was like, yes. Let, this is my Johnny Storm.
Damn, you're
This is my Human
fangirling right
Torch.
now,
No,
bro. You're just
absolutely,
like,
absolutely. And there's no shame, no shame, no one bone, one sliver of shame
Uh,
in me fangirling over Johnny Storm
no,
and their
yeah.
this iteration of the Human
No, yeah,
Torch.
he it was great. Honestly, one of my best things about, I think my favorite things of realizing, especially just like Joseph Quinn. Like if you watch Stranger Things, you already knew what he can do
Hmm.
as an actor, and how lovable he can make those characters, right? Because he brought his own thing in Stranger Things. It definitely
Right.
was one of the hardest moments when you saw him go, and then you see him here now,
Spoilers,
and like
spoilers
you
for those
said,
who don't know. If you're not caught up with that, that's a
yeah,
you
well,
problem. Sorry.
spoiler, yeah, as the new season's coming out, right? And but then, like you said, yeah, like they did give him more depth as the character that he is in the comics. He is, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, a lot of the things he does is always going to be centered around him and the love of women and interesting women at
Love
fact,
it.
because that's always
Hmm.
going to be a staple for him. It should
Absolutely.
be. If it's not, then you're kind of losing out on some of the best storylines, because they're hilarious and also
Well, you're
sometimes very
losing
heartfelt,
you're losing
you
a
know.
key factor in his character. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's one of his
Exactly.
key
That's
traits.
him.
You know
That's
that
Human
that's
Torch.
him.
Yep. It's
And
just
again,
him.
I'm glad we got that. But what
Mhm.
stands out, what this Human Torch does better, at least this version of
Mhm.
the Human Torch does better than the other iterations.
Mhm.
At least I'm not going to talk about the 2015 version with Michael B. Jordan. I'm going to talk specifically about Chris Evans because that's the
Mhm.
most
Mhm.
notable
Yeah.
version, and that's the one people are really going to compare it to. In those two movies, we really didn't get to see Johnny be
Mhm.
smart. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like Chris Evans
Y-
is the hot guy. I don't feel like we got to
Yeah.
see that as
I
much.
I think what you're trying to get at too is not even just being smart, because there's a couple little moments of the Chris Evans version is a little
Mhm.
is smart for, he knows something, but he's not the smartest guy in the room when you're
Yeah,
comparing him
yeah,
to the other
yeah.
Fantastic Four. But
No,
with
of
this
course.
one, we're getting one that, he's not just the eye candy slash
Right.
jokester that they want him to be
Hmm.
every single scene. Like, he's supposed to make every scene more light. He's not, so, you know what I mean? That's what they try to force for the other versions,
Hmm. And
and
it
it's like
worked.
he's
And it
supposed to, it's
worked.
not that he can't, it's not that it doesn't work when when you put it there, but it's also like
Hmm.
like not every scene was supposed to be him being that jokester, simple as that. You know
Right.
what I mean? He's
Hmm.
not the Joker every single time. He's coming in, he's playing a scene, he's being himself, like that little first subtle line, like, when they announced that they were pregnant, and then he's like, you're going to be amazing. And, oh my god. Then Reed, he's like, oh my god, you're going to be great. He was like, I'm kidding, because you're out of your depth, but we're going to be amazing uncles, and we're picking this up for
Yeah.
you. And that little subtle, funny there
The
is
subtle
perfect.
nuances, those
That's all you
nuances.
need.
Yep.
And that's all you need. You don't need the whole, like, oh, I just, call back to Chris Evans. I just went skiing with this hot girl, burned my clothes off, and flew for a few minutes. Now I'm walking back into this back into the place half naked because I made a sauna. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it wasn't necessary. You know what I mean? And it was obviously different movies. No shade to them,
Different
but
time period. Different time period
very
too.
very
You know what I
different,
mean?
very
Very
different
different time
situation.
period.
Exactly. So, and that's what I'm saying. And I feel you. Like, again, yeah, kudos to the writers for finding a nice balance for him here, that really
Yeah, yeah.
still personified the comics as well. I think it was a lot of fan service, I could say, for the fans of the Fantastic Four
No,
comic books
for
and everything
sure.
and those lines. And then
And I
I'm
also,
gonna
one little thing I also want to point out, I don't mean
yeah,
to
of
cut
course.
you off, but I also
No,
like
no.
the suits that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he would flame on,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of resembled his comic book look, like the original,
Mm.
like Andrew, like with the lines and everything.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, damn, Marvel, y'all smart. Y'all smart.
Yeah.
When y'all want to be, when y'all really want to be, y'all can really knock it out of the park. And that was a nice little touch. We don't need to put him in the whole like striped outfit, red
Mm-hmm.
get up and shit. Nice subtle little
Mm-hmm.
ruffles on the
It's
suit
just
to
nice
kind of give
little
him that.
outline, and
Yeah,
you just see his
it was a
silhouette.
nice touch. Honestly, it
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah.
a really
Mm-hmm.
nice touch, man. One thing I
Mm-hmm.
did miss was like hearing Flame On. That was like one thing I
Yeah,
would have
that's
liked.
right. He really didn't
That's
say it
one
often.
thing. One thing. No, he didn't say period. He
Oh
would
my
just
God, he didn't.
he
Oh
would just like
wow,
he would
that you're
just
right.
he would
Mm-hmm.
just flick his arms, flame on, and then just take
Mm-hmm.
off. He wouldn't. He not once did he say it.
Well, it was kind of
Um.
just like that with my man Ben Grimm. You know what I mean? They did not
Yeah, yeah.
let him say
He didn't.
clobbering time at all.
Yo, but speaking of Ben Grimm,
Mm,
I'll let you take the reins on the literal rock of the family,
mhm.
Ben
I
Grimm. Man.
after Sue Storm, he's my favorite right off the bat. So, oh my God, remind me of my actor's name.
Evan Moss Bachrock.
Thank you. Oh God, Evan. So if you're a fan of the bear, you
Yeah, if you're a fan
know,
of the
right?
bear, yes,
You
chef.
know. Oh my
They had a
God, that
nice little
man.
nod to that role too, with him
Oh
with
yeah, with the
Herbie and the
very first
garlic.
scene, he was like,
Yeah, it was like
"That's right, that's right." He was like,
I
"But I
was like,
want to just
damn.
spice it up a little bit." But my man, like he one phenomenal actor, and then for him
Oh,
to
absolutely.
still be able to put out such a performance for a fully CGI character, and kudos to the team for making sure that Ben Grimm did look fluid all the way through. He wasn't. I hate to do it. I'm doing it again. He wasn't blocky. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he is straight. Yes, he is a rock creature, but he was still able to like actually perform and all that kind of stuff. And you saw the emotion through the rock, and
Hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest highlights of it. Side note, like I am a huge fan of the beard. That was awesome to see that he
That
can
was
grow a
great.
beard.
That was
And
great.
he looked good, and like a
And
thing with the beard.
we didn't need some
Amazing.
weird time warpy,
Yes.
time travel thingy
Hmm.
majingy with the multiverse to kind of get that, which I was
Hmm.
obviously that's how he gets it in the comics. But
Yeah. This is
I
just
can
because he
appreciate
chose
it.
not to shave for a couple of weeks. You know what I
He
mean? And I
chose
thought that
that.
was great. Um,
That
but
was
um,
great.
but again, even the performance of him, like I love that they kept on bringing him back to Yancey Street. That was some of the highlights of the
Hmm.
movie because it's like this is what he did. He always went back to the old neighborhood. Obviously, he always missed being him because again, like no one wants to be a freaking rock monster, right? But
Hmm.
I think I'm glad that they didn't emphasize it so much throughout the whole movie so that he can actually just show the character that he is. He is straight up the uncle. He is the best friend
Hmm.
to Reed. He understands him and also still takes care of him, like protector of the whole family.
Yep.
The more responsible older brother to Johnny and everything like
No,
that,
for
but then
sure. Hmm.
they still have their nice little connection and their everything between the performance and also just like their banter and everything is just so well done. But oh wow, yeah, I love Ben Grimm all the way through. He was such a good it was nice to see that they didn't overplay the monster factor for him and they just made it about him and not
Yeah.
more that he's the thing, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, it wasn't like a pity party,
Hmm.
kind of like what we got
Exactly.
in the past. It was like, oh, I'm a monster. Who's gonna?
Hmm.
And they didn't really joke about him as much as being this
Yes.
big, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I feel like there was a lot of heart to the
Hmm.
thing, man. Again, he's quite literally the rock of the family. Like
Yep.
no pun intended. Like he's quite literally, when someone says that's my rock, yeah, no, that's literally Ben Grimm for the entire Fantastic Four. Like
Hmm.
he
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that character. So I just thought he was great. I would have loved to see a little more. This is one of my little nitpicks, at least with his character. It is not necessarily something that I had an issue with him as a character per se.
Hmm.
Um, they did create like the little original character Natasha Lyonne to be his like love interest. I
Mm.
wanted them to kind of lean into that a little bit more to kind of see how
Oh, of
he
course. Yeah.
overcomes that aspect. I
Hmm.
didn't want them to kind of hammer it down, kind of like they've done in the other movies and how they've done in the comics a little bit. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I wanted to see a little more of him dealing with that Jewish community, the Jewish
Hmm.
church. Obviously, like you mentioned, he does always kind of go back to Yancey Street. That's where he's from. That's where he grew
Hmm.
up. He's beloved by the store owners, the business owners, the children, the
Hmm.
families. He's a beloved neighbor, to say the
Yeah.
least, in that area. So I thought that was nice. But that's my only sort of like gripe, I would say. And
Hmm.
at this point, it's really a nitpick, to be completely honest with
Hmm.
you, when it comes to that specific plot point
Yeah.
of Ben
Well, of
Grimm's
course,
character in the
I would have
movie.
loved to see that they were able to do fit more scenes into that his like love interest and all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
and just navigating that. But at the same time,
Yeah,
I liked the subtleness of those little scenes here and there, because at the end of the day, this movie was more about the baby and
yeah,
Sue
of course.
and Reed. You know what I mean? So I'm like, just like how we talked about. Let's call back to Superman. We had all these other characters. It's
It's
not
not their movie.
specifically their movie. Not to say that it's not Ben Grimm's movie or the Things movie at all, because he is a part of the Fantastic Four. But in the grand scheme of things, that was like, I feel like that wouldn't have fit. I feel like there's no real like watching it the first time now. Maybe the second time I watch it, I might
Hmm.
be able to say we could have had a couple extra scenes. You know what I mean? Maybe another 5 more minutes worth. Nothing
Yeah,
nothing
nothing too
serious.
crazy. Yeah, no, I
But
agree.
I feel like building up on it, maybe for if they do a part two of this version, but like if they do, I don't know. It's probably doubtful. I think, but but I think it was subtle enough. You know what I mean? Because again, it's like,
Yeah.
there was more important things going on
No,
compared to
absolutely.
his
And
love
one of
life.
the
Hmm.
important things going on, we'll get into that right now, which is the
Hmm.
little baby Franklin Richards. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Also mad about that. He's supposed to be Franklin Benjamin Richards after his godfather, Ben Grimm. Okay, just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out
But
there.
I don't know why they didn't bring that up, because that would have been amazing if they put in that little tidbit for us. But I bet there was a scene that they just didn't fit in. But continue. Yes.
It was probably in there, and it was also probably the nod, the fact that he's
Hmm.
named after Sue's biological father,
Hmm.
Franklin Storm,
Yep.
so
Hmm. Yep.
aka his grandfather,
Hmm.
but I don't know, man. Franklin Richards, man, there was a lot going on with Franklin Richards. He's a pretty important character, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think people realize
Yeah.
that yet.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and he
Hmm.
has the power cosmic in him too. So it's like,
It's great that they did that. Obviously they didn't, besides what he does at the very end. Obviously, like you said, you put in our notes, he brought Sue back to life. And it was like, besides that, there was no major, hey, this baby's saving the world right now. You know what I mean? And I
mhm,
thought that was very well done. Obviously, let him be the baby. Let him
exactly.
let the parents protect him. But I think a lot of this is definitely um I have a couple of theories now about how they're going to combine this into the Secret Wars and how they're rebooting everybody. Like that's one of the things that that came to mind right away. So I guess How do you want to? What else, like? What can you say about Baby's performance? Honestly, he was adorable.
I mean, he
He was
was
adorable.
adorable. I mean, he was CGI for a lot of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
But
I don't know. Well, that's the funny part. I wonder if it's just like they had to superimpose his head for certain scenes, or was it because half the time Ben was holding the baby,
I don't know. There were some
right?
shots, even when when Sue was holding him, that you're just like, mm,
Like
looking
he
kind
was
of
a little
off there, you
too,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. See, that's what I was like, a little too perfect here and there, but also like not moving around too
Yeah.
much. Um, so yeah, I can see that. That's probably there's one of those little things. I'm like, that could have been a little better, but obviously, it's hard to get like an infant to actually act for you.
No, no,
It's
for
like,
sure. So in terms of real baby slash
mhm,
CGI baby, I guess the
mhm.
performance was fine.
A
I
plus, I
guess
say.
A plus. So let's dive into the
Mm,
characterization of how they
mm.
adapted baby Franklin Richards from the comics to live action.
Oh man,
Did
yep.
they, did they
All the best lines went to him. All the
all the
best
best
lines.
lines, all the best cries, you know what I mean, went to Franklin Richards. But I
Oh
mean,
my goodness.
for the most part, him being the MacGuffin, we kind of had a feeling. Marvel really tried to hide that, but once people kind of deduced from watching trailers and they're like, oh no, she's walking kind of awkwardly, and oh,
Hmm.
she's definitely pregnant, and then they was like,
Hmm.
yeah, we can't hide this anymore. We're just gonna spoil the fact that yeah, Franklin is in this movie. Obviously,
Hmm.
Galactus is in this movie. We know what he wants. You know what I mean? So
Hmm. Well, it's so
I
funny. Like,
mhm.
it's like I thought it was a little interesting that they made it that um Galactus was trying to make him his successor. Like, but because normally in the comics, this usually he's able to at least just like it's not that he's his successor, he's technically his new master, like
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
comics usually, and
yeah.
then
Hmm.
also like he's able to halt his hunger. It's not about like he takes on the role for him, but he's like, oh, this powerful being can help me not do what I usually do. You know what I mean? He holds
Hmm.
my full nature because he's capable of doing it. So that's the
Right.
comics, right? So like to say that, oh, he's supposed to just take over my role so I could rest. Like I was like, that's interesting. I was like, it's not bad. I was like, it's not a bad like way to write it. I thought it was just kind of an interesting take to be like, he does have the power cosmic, and he needs to be the reason why Galactus gets to literally just go on vacation. It's
Pretty
like
much, pretty much.
that's pretty much what it is.
He's covering his shift. That's essentially what Galactus wants. He's like, yo, Franklin, can you cover my shift for like the next
you know, like
three to
millennia,
five millennia? You know what I mean? I need a
potentially.
break.
He was like,
I
I'm
need to sit
tired of
at the
being
edge of
the,
the.
you
I
know,
need to sit at the edge of the universe and kick my
Yeah,
feet up for a little
right.
bit. You
It's
know.
like I'm tired of these guys telling me I'm the bad guy when I'm just doing my 9 to 5. What
I'm
can
doing
I
my
do?
9 to 5 and I'm just on my lunch break. You know what I mean? And I need to
It's
eat.
like, what can I do? And to kind of jump back to Galactus real quick though. Um, damn it, I feel like we could have like the way that we're talking. Let's finish with Franklin though. Do you want to talk about the post credit then or no?
We don't need to talk about the post credit yet, but again, one
Yeah,
thing I did
we'll
want to
come back
touch
to
on, like
it.
I wrote in the notes, is like the scene with him and Sue at
Hmm.
the end. Obviously, we know he
Yes.
brings her back to
Yeah.
life. I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah. Hmm.
that
Yes.
the and
Lovely.
just the message, the underlying
Yeah.
message that I gave you
Hmm.
life. Now
Hmm.
you
Because
gave
I
me
don't know
life.
if you
Now I give you
notice,
life. You know what I
there
mean?
was a subtle pulse on his hands. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you looked enough and everything like that, there was a subtle light that happened before
Yeah,
she moved her finger. So
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, perfect, subtle. There was nothing else. I thought like at least they would just do the eye color change. You know what I mean? To make it more obvious for
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
But again, so adorable.
I thought that was
You know,
beautiful. I thought
yeah.
again,
Hmm.
him not wanting to stay with Reed and
Hmm.
wanting to like get on top of Sue because he knows that she's dead and whatever, and
Yeah.
like then clapping
Yeah.
once he brought her back to life. I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
A
That
tear
was
was
adorable.
shed, bro.
Of
A tear
course,
was shed, bro.
it was
It was
adorable.
like,
That was he was just like, "You're welcome, yay!"
you know what I mean?
Appreciate
It's
you.
like, damn. It's like as a parent, that hits,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. It was good. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can kind of hold off a little bit on his future role because that does
Hmm.
kind of tie into the mid-credit scene. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
we'll put
Yeah.
a pin on that for now
Perfect. All
because
good.
we'll talk about that later because again
Hmm.
we'll get there. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's. Do you want to talk about Galactus or do you want to talk about Shalabal?
You know what? Shia LaBeouf's fine. Because
All right, let's do
I
Shalabal
actually,
because
I
she
really
was
enjoyed
dope.
it.
She
Yeah,
was
I
really
thought
good. Julia Garner,
I
man, she nailed it, bro.
who knew that they were going to figure out a way to legit put in surf scenes with like essentially lava. You know what I mean? Or I guess like,
Bro,
you know,
lava and within a wormhole, within
yeah,
a
yeah.
black hole. It
Hmm.
was like, bro, that scene
Hmm.
once they leave Galactus's ship, bro, and
Yep.
they're on and Surfer is hunting them down,
Hmm.
bro. Absolute, like the memes,
So you know,
absolute
all right.
cinema.
Also going to bring this is I think I should have said this earlier. The best thing about this movie is that they actually did something that the Fantastic Four actually do. They go explore, they go to space, they do
Hmm.
everything. They go to the center of the earth, like they show it for subterranean and all that. And but it's like to show that at the core of their character is that they're explorers. They want to see new things, they want to learn, they want to show the world, they want to bring things back. So the show that they were like,
Hmm.
hey, we can just go right to space right now, meet this guy over there, do this stuff, show that they're capable of meeting up. I think that's where I think made the story even better, because it's like it proved that, hey, this is not just an earth level team, this is a intergalactic, this is multiverse,
Hmm.
and that's what the Fantastic Four, and that's why it works so well having Silver Surfer come back in and doing all these cool ass
And
things
not
and
just
trying to
doing
figure
those
it
cool
out.
things on Earth, you
Hmm.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not just
Hmm.
doing that on Earth, you
Yep.
know? So it was
Hmm.
like I feel like that was one of those. I think that was the best scene with the surfer, to be completely honest with you.
Hmm.
Now that I'm like thinking back on it, I think
Yeah.
that's the best scene. Like that chase scene where she's trying
Yeah.
to like
Hmm.
literally rip Franklin out of Sue's stomach. Essentially,
That
it's
was
like, yo,
wild.
bro,
That was wild. I was like, that would have been so messed up. I was like, I don't even understand how you can do that and not feel like,
yo,
yo. I was like, rip out, and then she brings it up to him like, but he's just a baby. It's
yeah,
like,
no,
what do you want me
she
to
feels
say? Like,
feels
it's like
bad,
she felt she.
and I like that we got a little bit of
Hmm.
backstory. They do
Hmm.
kind of incorporate some of Norin Rad's motivations and reasoning as
Hmm.
to why he's a herald
Yes.
into her story.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great, man. I thought
Hmm.
seeing her on her planet for a little bit and seeing her daughter, as the reasoning, yeah.
Hmm.
And that outfit from her planet, yo, it
Hmm.
looked cool, man. It looked really
Oh
good.
yeah, it looked great. And
And then
again,
she also looked visually better compared to what how she
mhm.
was showcased in, excuse me, in the trailers. You know what I mean?
I could probably I
You didn't
believe
watch
you.
the
Yeah,
trailers, so
exactly. I believe you. I saw like the first teaser and called it a day. And honestly, I don't even recall how good or bad it looked. And at the same time, it like she did look amazing. You know what I mean? Throughout the whole thing, the
Mhm.
power set was set like perfect, able to like transport through every single point. Obviously, we didn't see anything of her doing any of the blasts that the Silver Surfer does in the comics, but I'm glad. Again, it's like that was again with their power sets. They didn't overdo any of their power sets. You know what I mean?
Right.
If
Mhm.
anything, you could say yes. For the movies, they get dumbed down for a lot of reasons because it's hard to, power scale in movies, especially for a very first one, for the franchise and all that. But she was able to. Obviously, she can. If she wanted to, she could have definitely took him out, no problem. But in certain scenes, she was able to get beat too. Black
Mhm.
hole. Sue Storm was able to take her out and everything. Um, Johnny was able to kind of keep up, but
Yo,
like
Sue Storm, Sue was on. Yo, she was like,
she was the
Johnny, kill
powerhouse.
her. Yo,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, yo,
Hmm.
you can't fuck with Mama Bear, bro.
Yeah, she was ready to
Can't.
go. And then going through contractions, she's gonna say anything she needs to. She's like, just to get through that shit.
And rightfully so. You know what I mean? Rightfully so. Damn, that
Mm.
was great, man. That was great. But
It was, yeah, I think, yeah, I kind of, I agree. Like that scene was like one of the highlights of the movie, because it's like it showed a lot of promise of like, oh, what can be done now, moving forward with
yeah,
these
and
guys. You know what I
this
mean?
is why like
Mhm.
I've been upset with Marvel when they announced that they wanted to go a little bit more cosmic, and then
Mhm.
they kind of retracted on that and they didn't go cosmic, and
Yep.
then we see something like that scene in Fantastic Four, and it's like, bro, do you know what you guys can really like do
Mhm.
with your cosmic heroes and your
Yeah.
cosmic stories? Like,
Yeah, they don't need to just always be cosmic and go to a different planet. They can be
is
cosmic.
like just straight up cosmic. You know what I
Oh
mean? I
my
was just
god,
like,
yeah.
bro, and it's like, and honestly, that really showed how visually appealing Marvel can really be when they really want to. Honestly,
Mhm.
because that entire sequence was beautifully shot. Like the surfer looked great in that. Even the first encounter with Johnny and the surfer, where
Mhm.
he ends up going up into space and he's like reflected in her skin.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Like I was like,
Subtle.
bro, it's like it was like great. I was like, yo, you guys really added nice little
Yeah.
details, and the
Mhm.
fact that in that scene, I'm not sure, I don't recall if you see it in any other scenes,
Mhm.
but at least in that scene, when Johnny's up there with her, when he sees his reflection in her face, you can also see the stars reflecting
Well, he
off her
said it. He
skin.
was like, first
You
I
know what I
see
mean?
me
I was like,
reflecting off of her, see
wow.
her, then stars, and so on. And I'm like, I was like, besides the narcissistic moment, being like, I got to see me, and then also saw her, and then the stars, and I'm
Not the narcissistic
like,
moment.
but it's like, but it was true. It's like it beautifully done. And again, because I liked the last experience with the last movie. I watched this one in
Mhm.
IMAX, and it does, again, the filming for IMAX and
How
watching
was
in
the
IMAX is
aspect
huge.
ratio with Galactus?
Solid, really. Oh, honestly, it's like, it's funny. Me looking at him on the screen, he looks small. You know what I mean? But obviously, I'm kidding. Like, I'm kidding, guys. No, it was so it looked good. It, like, everything flowed well. Like, I love his entrance scene. It looks so good. Like, you know what I mean? At first, you
Hmm.
saw the silhouette slightly. You saw that, like, you saw mass moving to then eyes glowing, and that I was like, I was like, it was this so hard. I was like, it was this so hard
Yeah,
to do, people.
I do one gripe I do have with Galactus. One, I did want to see. I guess this is just again, this is one of my other like I would consider this a nitpick.
Hmm.
To be completely honest, I wanted to see a little more Galactus, other than the one scene that led into the whole chase sequence, to then
Okay.
see him for like the last few moments
Hmm.
of the movie and whatever. I wanted to see a
Okay.
little more. I wanted to see him do a little more. And
Like, what else
honestly,
though?
Loki, I wanted to see him munching on a planet. I didn't want to see his ship
Oh, okay.
destroying a
Well,
planet. Like I want to
well,
see you like,
remember,
you know
like,
what
so
I
I
mean?
think the
Like,
most in the comics I've ever seen him do is usually he goes down to the earth, like he goes down to the planets to set up his machine first, especially when he doesn't have his herald. He'll go to the, like,
mhm.
he'll literally, all he's doing is like he's literally plugging in his machine so it starts drilling, so then he can go back to his ship, so then he can eat, because that's the thing, his ship processes the planet. So
Yeah,
that's
the core
why,
essentially.
yeah,
That's all that
yeah.
molten. That's all that
Mhm.
lava that you're
Yeah,
seeing in that
yeah,
ship. Yeah,
exactly.
which
All
is why he's
melted down.
connected. Yeah, it's all he's all
Hmm.
connected. I
Yep.
get it, but again,
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
massive nitpick.
yeah,
Again, this is
yeah,
on the category. I have a list of literal nitpicks. This is just
yeah, yeah.
nitpicks. Nothing that
Mhm,
was
yeah, and
necessarily
yeah,
done
exactly.
wrong. You
It's
know.
an interesting thing, because again, like, we're used to seeing, him literally have fist matches with like Thanos and stuff like that in the comic here and there,
Hmm.
and or
Exactly.
Silver Surfer literally actually having a fight with him in the comics. So it's different, yeah. But like, for like, obviously, I probably, it's probably as simple as, budget issues. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
could have been, but I
as
also
simple as that.
again that's the one gripe. They did kind of do a little. They changed the cloud aspect and gave them the
Yeah.
ship. So I'm
Hmm.
glad that they did that. You know what I mean? It kind of looked the same. You know, Tatu, which is his ship.
Hmm. Hmm.
The cloud and Rise of the Silver Surfer kind of looked like that, but they just made the whole thing a cloud. They made the ship
Yeah.
and him a cloud, which is just didn't work. So I'm glad that
Mhm.
we got the ship, we got him inside the ship, we got him outside the ship,
Mhm, mhm,
we got him doing
mhm.
shit.
Walking, exactly.
We got him,
He's
he's
doing
walking,
he's
talking.
doing shit without the ship. But like that's what he's doing now. He's
You know,
doing it.
he's doing it. You know what I mean? He
Yeah,
rolls out
yeah.
of his slumber to finally do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
getting his steps in, which was is what counts at the end of the day.
Oh,
He got
he
his
got his
steps in.
first steps. He got his first steps
You
in.
know what I mean? So I mean, other than that, I also love that the suit was practical, bro.
Mhm.
That the suit was practical, and they worked their Hollywood movie magic to make them all big and small, or
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
Whenever they needed to change his size and all that, like it was. And then obviously Ralph Fiennes, the voice, bro, the
Yeah, yeah.
voice, and then the
Yeah.
Galactus theme on top of that is like, you guys really didn't need to cook this much with Galactus, but you guys really did, and I'm glad that you
I
guys delivered.
he is the big bad of this movie. Like it is supposed to happen. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
know, and he was, and
d-
he wasn't just a dumb villain. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like
yep.
he saw that they were trying to lure him into a trap. He's like, oh wait, nah, Franklin ain't here, dog. I
Yeah.
don't sense him.
Mhm.
Start
Yeah, well,
scanning.
how did he
Where's
say he was like
oh,
he was like, oh, clever ants, like, and I love that because like
bro?
normally when you're that big, usually you do just like how do you how do you personify an ant? You know what I mean? Like it's that
Hmm.
like that normal way of like if you conceive that the ant is like anything more than just an ant, then you're not as powerful as you think, and
Yeah, yeah.
it was great, and that's why they did that, and they kept them powerful. You could see the scale, you know what I mean? You knew it. Like besides the whole thing of like, like I'm sure they did that for the good old USA, him staring at the Statue of Liberty and left it alone and just started walking from there. But
The Statue of Liberty
yeah.
is a staple within the
Yeah.
MCU. Something is either
Mhm.
always happening on it, or
Yeah.
around it, or it's
Yeah.
getting rebuilt. Galactus is just staring at it in admiration. I don't know what it is, but
Mhm.
the Statue of Liberty is very important in the MCU. So
Oh, I was
I'm
looking
glad they
at it.
did
He
that.
was like, he looked at her and
America.
like, he was like, "What's up, girl? I'll see you later." That's how it looked
That's the
like.
same gist I got. That's the same gist I got. But I was like, I see you, Galactus. I see you. I see you, man. Even him
Oh
told me, he
man,
was like, I was once your size. I was like, then
yeah.
you had to disrespect him like that.
Hmm.
We know you had to
No,
talk to him like that.
but that's the thing. That's also really great because they do eventually say that in the comics. He used to be, yeah, or technically he was small compared to other things. Who knows? His original universe, he might have been just as big, but everything else was bigger, right? But so
Hmm.
that's how he's looking at the scale. But also, I was a part of a dead universe before this one. So he survived the Big Bang and going
Hmm.
through it. And I've been
Exactly.
constantly here forever. You're not the first one. Don't take this personally, type of shit. And it's like,
Yeah. No, it
and I
was
thought
great. It
it
was
was
great.
wild. It was great.
And
Yeah.
and I loved how the actor how he approached that. They had asked him about some of his favorite lines in the
Mhm,
movie as Galactus. He was like, lines.
mhm,
I don't have Galactus doesn't speak in lines. He talks in
mhm.
decrees. I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, you didn't have to cook.
Mm,
You didn't have to cook with
well
that
said. Well
response.
said. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
didn't have to cook. You
I
understand
Yeah,
Galactus."
didn't he say, I think he said like anything that like when he was looking into the role and all that kind of stuff and trying to he was just trying to like look into it as anything with overwhelming power. You know what I mean? When
Hmm.
you're set with that, how do they perceive things and so on? And I think I was like, when I heard that, I was like, well, good. He's literally almost godlike. You know what I mean? He's not
And there was
omnipotent,
another thing that he
but
did. I think he
you
was
know.
like standing on the roof of like tall buildings or something,
Mhm.
like
Oh,
probably like the train. And he was like, he would like look down to see like, oh, like to kind of get in that headspace
yeah.
of like, oh, this is what it will feel
I
like to
guess
be
he's
here.
not
It
scared
was
of
like,
light. He's not scared of heights. Thank God for it. Because,
listen,
I get
that's a
it.
whole different level method acting. But hey, if that worked for him, it is what it is. You know,
Yeah. Like
it
the
worked.
the calling, well, the plug in the pot, like the Instagram, the post that you put on there, was that like the actual set photo of what he like they dressed him in, like
Yeah,
for the
that
stuff.
was him in
That's
the
awesome.
Galactus
Perfect.
practical
Honestly,
suit. Yep.
simple, nice cosplay,
Obviously,
solid.
in the
You know,
background, you saw all
yeah.
those cameras. Obviously, that's how you get
The
they
body
size them
motion and
up.
stuff.
They get the
Hmm.
body motion, and then they essentially just
Hmm.
size them up.
You
You
know,
know what I
I
mean?
just thought that was just like a background. Like I thought it was like their
No, those are
somebody
all
just
like
put.
film
I didn't even
cameras.
realize those were actual cameras. I just looked at him. I was like they must have used that as like the for the whole picture and pictures and all that kind of stuff. I was like that's solid. I was like that's awesome because that's really what it comes down to.
Hmm.
Don't have to make him fully CGI, or you can CGI the scale, but like let him
Yeah.
act. You know what I mean? And
Hmm. No, for sure.
but again, having a comic book accurate Galactus, that's all I
Finally,
needed.
it was
We
like
finally,
finally,
that's all we needed. You know what I mean? I
finally.
really, I didn't. I was like, I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. I'm a happy
And
guy with it.
my
That's
heart
it.
was a little happy too because when we launched the Nerdy Basement, we
Mhm.
launched and the podcast, our little picture at the time, what was Galactus. You know what I mean? And that's one of
Oh
the
yeah, that's right. You
reasons.
did put Galactus as one of the backdrops for a while. Yeah,
You
I
know what I
remember
mean? And
now.
then one of the reasons that our color scheme is purple is
Mhm.
because of Galactus. You know what I mean? Like, so Galactus
Mm.
has a lot of influence on how what the Nerdy Basement is and
Mhm.
what it looks like, at least when it comes to our color scheme. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Fair
heavily
enough. Yeah.
influenced by Galactus. Fun little
Mhm.
fact for the Nerdy Basement. So, so I felt proud. I felt like a
Yeah.
proud dad watching
Oh God,
his child grow up. Look at you now,
you're
live
finally on the big
action,
screen.
but finally on the big screen and in the flesh, not a fart
Mhm.
cloud,
Mm.
But
Oh
yeah,
man.
man. So let's I think that we can just wrap it up there for Galactus. I feel like, I
Oh
mean,
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
there's not much. I mean, I would like to know where he ends up in terms of where him and the Silver Surfer end up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Since she
Yeah.
kind of
I,
once again sacrifices
yeah.
herself to.
Hmm.
I'm only
Hmm.
saying once again because we got that same sort of
Hmm.
ending in Rise of the Silver Surfer. You know what I mean? But that's usually
Hmm.
the case
Yeah. Of
with
course.
Silver Surfer and Galactus.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
They've always been two sides of the coin, one trying to stop him from doing things like this, but also him saying, what else can I do? This is what I do, and I gave you your powers, I need you to do this. And then
exactly.
eventually,
So
but again, like, I think part of it was just that they were sending him somewhere far enough that it would take him way too long to get there, and by the time he would get there again, they would already have a plan. That's how, like it, so it was. It's not
but
that
that
they
plan
is
failed though.
no, they were supposed to run away first, right? Then they sent him even further and without a ship, so then he can't get there anytime soon.
So his shit. So okay, so he's at the edge of the universe somewhere with the Silver Surfer, presumably both alive. No
Hmm.
ship. He's
No ship.
stranded.
Yep.
Man,
It just
how
means
it
like maybe Max,
how
like Silver Surfer can get there faster, but him, I don't know how he learns how to swim in space, but you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he doesn't figure out how to get out like
I
from there
mean,
faster.
he's a giant cosmic being, so I'm pretty
Mm,
sure he can kind of float around, kind of like
yeah.
a celestial. I'm assuming if that's how Marvel wants to handle that. But
Exactly.
I don't know. One thing I also wanted to see from this movie was more setup for Avengers Doomsday. And I
No,
know, and I know.
no,
I feel like I've said
no.
it to either here or I talked to one of my friends about it, where not every single movie needs to be some sort of setup for the next
Hmm.
one. And I know that's been
Yep.
a complaint about from other people too. I'm not the first and only one to say that.
Hmm.
But I feel like this movie, given who we, I feel like certain movies should be just that, just their standalone movies, shouldn't be setting
Yep.
up anything else.
Hmm.
And then other movies, given what's coming next, you should be kind of in a way setting up for that some way somehow.
I,
And
you
which
know,
is why
so
I feel like that's a
yeah.
double-edged sword when it comes to
Hmm.
this particular movie,
Yeah, yeah.
because it probably would have taken away from the story that we're praising so much right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think
But then
right off the
also in
bat,
the
you already
same
said it.
breath,
Hmm.
it kind of takes away, makes the mid-credit scene just a little meh, in my
No, not at
opinion. You
all.
know what I mean?
Nah, honestly, no, Hey,
at least to me. I don't know.
no, and that's what I'm saying. I respect your opinion. You know what I mean? This is why we do it. We have our discussions, right? You know, we'll go right into the mid credit scene because obviously now that if you guys watched it and you're actually this far into the video, you know the spoiler with the mid credit scene. They show the silhouette of Doctor Doom talking to Franklin, the mask
Well,
in hand.
not even the silhouette. He is there in the
Well,
flesh,
well, yeah, I
being
should say
touched
the
by Franklin
profile.
in the face.
I should say profile then, because it's just him in his cape, his mask in hand, being touched by that, but you don't see the face. You don't see his
Right.
face because again, here's the best part: we might know it's RDJ portraying the role of him eventually, right? But Doom is always in a mask because his face is effed up. Simple as that, right?
Right.
That's the character.
So why?
Mhm.
Why do you think his face? Why do you think his mask is off in this scene? Is you know
To
what I
show
mean?
that this is Franklin, like, hey, I want to see the real you. I want to trust you. So who are you, metal man? You know what I mean? So like,
You think
and
it's a? So you think he's after?
mhm,
Okay, so listen, thinking back on some theories and the whole
mhm,
anchor being thing that the MCU has going on, kind of like what they did with Molecule Man, where
okay,
Doom kind of goes around planet, universe, whatever, to go find their
mhm,
Molecule Man,
mhm,
takes
mhm, mhm.
to create Battle World. You think that's he's after the power cosmic to some degree? Does he know
I
that
definitely see
Franklin
that.
has the
Yeah.
power cosmic? Is he
Mhm.
gonna use Franklin to create Battle World? You know what I mean? Like,
I think this. I That's where my theories were heading to. Is like now seeing that Doom is now talking to Franklin, knows something. He's either, excuse me. So let's even backtrack, right? If this is because like to get to Avengers Doomsday, this is now Doom finding out Franklin is a powerhouse, which is side note, that's one of his aliases in the comics when he starts superheroing powerhouse. So um he finds out this situation with him. He knows he needs this power so that he can this is how I like. I think in the long scheme of things, this Franklin here is going to reset the. He's going to be the reason why the universe resets, and then we get X-Men and Avengers all in the
so
same
he's
universe
gonna
and
be the one
Fantastic Four.
rebooting the MCU.
Yes, he's rebooting it. I feel like, and whether it's in a whole sense of like how they do in the comics, Franklin sees his whole family and all the Avengers and everything, all of them dead, because of I want to say it was Onslaught. Then because he's so sad about it, he made the next initiative, which was he made a pocket universe inside of his this little marble, and he let them live kind of like a happier lives. So, but all his heroes, his father, mother, uncles, and therefore they are all alive again. So,
Mm-hmm.
in my head, I'm thinking, okay, first Doom will use him, right? Use part of that power to start setting up Battle World or Secret Wars, at least, depending on how whatever name they keep, right? And then eventually, after everything is beaten, and he's done, blah blah blah. Then we get Franklin saying, I can reset this, or I can make something better. He was like, I can't make everything right now with the power I
Mm-hmm.
have, but I can probably take most of this and make it a little bit nicer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without Doom being in charge. You know, that's how
So
I'm looking at it now.
yeah. Okay. So that that answers the question to some degree of Franklin's future in the MCU, especially pertaining to
Mhm.
Doomsday and the Secret
Theory,
Wars.
theories.
Theory.
It didn't answer, but it's my
We're
theory.
answering our own questions, but yeah, it is a theory.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is confirmed to be RDJ in that scene. By the
Oh,
way,
they did confirm it. Okay,
it
cool.
was confirmed. It was confirmed today, the day of this recording, by the director in an
Ooh.
interview with Brandon Davis from Face Hero. Um, Everyone knows Brandon Davis. You know Brandon Davis, obviously.
Oh,
So yeah, he
comicbook.com.
confirmed.
Yeah. How you
Yeah,
guys doing?
where he used to be. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, he confirmed from Max Chapman confirmed to him that the Russo shot that scene, and it was Robert Downey Jr. in that scene meeting
Nice.
with little Franklin. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay, okay.
But
That's awesome.
It is. It is. So we kind of theorize what his plan was. We can kind of understand why they haven't shown him or whatever. I feel like he
Hmm.
should have spoken or something, or maybe even looked at Sue to some degree. I feel like that would have been effective too. But like kind of just
Hmm.
keeping it all mum and just like so ominous and mysterious with him just touching it, getting his face touched. I don't know. I feel like it was a lackluster way to kind of set up Doomsday. And I'm only saying that
Hmm.
because when you look at big bads, right? And
Hmm.
I'm only again harping on this so much, and why I'm being so hard on it is because recently Kevin Feige said the reason they switched over to Doom compared
Hmm.
and moved away from Kang is because he wasn't as big of a big bad
Yeah,
as Thanos, which is I'm going to call BS on that because
yes,
obviously
agreed.
Kang
Agreed.
is like, hello, Kang is a huge character, right? And he has ties to the
Hmm.
Fantastic Four. And, Nathaniel Richards is also a descendant of Reed Richards and all that. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of ties to the Fantastic Four. Like, this is a character who has potential to be a big bad if needed, and also ties to
Hmm.
Young Avengers. There's a whole ripple effect when it comes to
Yeah,
Kang that, and besides, you were setting him up to be that. You know what I mean? So
literally, yes.
The pivot to Doctor Doom, right? With no
Hmm.
real setup is kind of bugging me a little bit, especially when we get this is the first on-screen look to some degree that we get of Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now, which universe is this from? This universe, Earth 828 that we visited in Fantastic Four, doesn't have a Victor Von Doom. They're the only heroes in this universe. Why?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like
So I'm guessing I'm gonna guess that he was an 828 at one point, but then he
I
bounces.
but
I th-
bounces where because his origins are severely tied to
of
their
course,
specific origins.
of
You know
course,
what
of
I mean? And
course.
how they get their power. So it's like,
Uh,
where is Doom this whole time?
but that's what I'm saying. Right now, they're just trying to make him into the big bad, and in the sense of like keep it simple to the point of again so here was the whole problem, right? We want the homework, no one else does, and that's the problem, right? That's what they showed right now, and that's why they're trying to say, because the Kang universe, the King dynasty stuff, that would have required more homework. There would have been multiple versions of him. There would have been this, there would have been that. They're trying to get out of that ASAP, so they're trying to just give you as much of off-screen story just to get us to Doomsday and Secret Wars and call it a day, so they can really get to the bigger stuff, which is rebooting the universe themselves, so that they can recast all the big hitters like Iron Man, Captain America, etc., and then bring in the X-Men, even though they're probably going to be a younger version of them too, the teenagers and everything, and not the
Yeah,
older cats
he
too.
confirmed.
You
Kevin
know,
Feige confirmed that as
yeah,
well. He said he's going to
yeah.
reboot. The X Men will the rebooting of the X Men, the new X Men comes after Secret Wars. Once the
Yes.
MCU has been rebooted,
Hmm.
he's confirmed that they're going to recast Iron Man. They're going to recast Captain
Hmm.
America. They'll keep Chris
Exactly.
Hemsworth
Yep.
as Thor.
Hmm.
So the entire X Men team will be much
Hmm.
younger, brand new faces, younger actors that will be doing this for 10+ years. Okay,
Hmm.
he's
Because
rebuilding it
right
from
now, look,
scratch.
like, and so in my head right now too, am I a huge fan of knowing that RDJ is going to be a new Doom? I'm so indifferent. It's so weird because again, I'm still in that mode. I'm like, I think he's going to kill it as the role. Probably, yeah. He's a great freaking actor. He could do a lot of shit. But at the same time, I'm like, I can see them using it as he started the MCU, let him finish
Let
it,
him finish it. I can see what,
and
and I'm
then
sure that's
reboot.
what it is, and I'm
You
sure
know,
that's what it is to give it to. But
which again, like
in
you said,
hindsight, he
right?
kind of really
Wait,
did end it with
yeah.
Avengers Endgame. He closed out his
He ended
story,
no,
but
he ended Tony Stark, but I'm saying at least RDJ in the sense of, hey, we can't cast you anymore. You don't want to do this
mhm.
anymore. Let's just like we got to get a clean slate because everybody just wants to talk about you and Chris Evans. Even though Chris Evans, Captain America, is an old man and retired, you know what I mean. And I think
Shit, we
I
don't
think
even know if
that's
he's
what it
alive
comes
at
down
this
to.
point. You know?
Exactly, and I think, and it's which to bring back your point too with how Kang, was that would have prolonged the story too long, and they unfortunately dropped the ball with the multiverse saga and the time variance and everything. they oversaturated everything because they were trying to do too much. And now I think they're just trying to,
Yeah.
like, get that clean slate before Feige's new contract is up and everything, unfortunately. And it sucks, like, right now that now we're talking about more real world implications compared to story and what the movie is. So but
Unfortunately.
that's my thoughts, just from like literally reading a couple stuff off the skimming
Yeah,
here and
yeah,
there and seeing stuff. We're not the fly on the wall. One day maybe we can be, but they're never going to tell us everything.
I would hope to be one day,
Yeah.
but again, I don't know. To me, the scene was it just didn't do it for me, unfortunately. Like,
Yeah.
it just didn't get me excited for Doomsday. I just feel like we need a little more in terms of setup. Like, also the Thunderbolts,
Yeah.
like, post credit scene. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
We get
How does it go to that? Yeah.
there's a space crisis. Okay, what the fuck is the space crisis? Why is the Fantastic Four in a new ship traveling through space? Where are they going? Which version of the Fantastic Four is this? Is this Earth 828's Fantastic Four? Is this
I really
a
hope so.
different? Is this a different Fantastic Four? You know what I mean? Like those,
Yeah.
like they just keep
See, but
dropping
then that's what I'm
these.
saying. That's what
These
I'm saying.
scenes
I don't
now,
want
these
it.
scenes now
Yeah.
hold no value anymore because now they're just there just to get. Oh, we're teasing this. No, for example, the first Thanos post credit scene. You know what I mean? At the end of Avengers. You know what I mean? To challenge them is to court that you get the first look at Thanos, and then you spent 2-3 phases building them up, and then you got them for 2 movies. You know what I mean? So it's like we haven't done that.
But again, that's the thing, because they dropped the ball to earlier to give us now they need to build up the suspense again. And here's the thing, I honestly, especially now, the success with this movie already going forward, and also I think they really want to steer clear of anything variant wise now, and they're trying to bring everything they can into one spot for one time only, so that they can make it easier to get them all in there moving forward, right? So 828 universe, Fantastic Four, yeah, there definitely has to be them. I don't think it's going to be any variant. If we're going to see any variants, it's going to be during Secret Wars, maybe. Well, and that's the interesting thing, right? Is, are they really going to be making Avengers Doomsday Battle World, or are they just going to make it that he takes over and kind of does it like just like he is now the supreme leader, right? And then Secret Wars is when everybody comes in together on the same planet, so there's not any need for multiple variants per se. You know what I mean? I really think they're just trying to dumb everything down, bro. Like, I don't see it as.
I'm a little concerned. The more we really like look at it, the more I personally analyze this scene and how it ties into the Thunderbolts post credit scene and what's to come and what they're trying to do with Doomsday and what they're trying to do with Secret Wars. I'm just like, man, like, what the fuck? Like, what are we?
But that's the whole thing. That's why we've been saying about how many of the movies prior to this, man. Like, you know what I mean? And how many of the, like, it's like, come on, like, we get it. Like, a lot, there's backlash between other people saying, like, this is not my Captain America. This is this, that, and this, blah, blah. We're gonna get all of that, right? And
well,
but then at the same time,
those are politics that are dumb. To be completely
exactly.
honest,
No, of course, but we know that. But then again, the everywhere has said otherwise, right? Because
no, I get it.
They only go by numbers. But I digress. Like, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised that scene is going to give you more, because if the Russo brothers did that, right, and if it's just a mid-credit scene, I wouldn't be surprised this is going to be a scene in Avengers Doomsday.
The same thing with the Thunderbolts one. The Thunderbolts one was also directed by the Russos for Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and I bet it's going to be literally in there. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. The last time we did that, I think it was in Ant-Man, where we got one of that scene where Bucky was captured and he was being interrogated by Sam and Cap. Turns out to be a scene from Civil War. Russo's directed that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to be.
You'll get more.
I don't want to be too harsh on this post credit scene, on this mid credit scene, but unfortunately, it just does nothing for me. It really doesn't get me excited for Doctor Doom in any way.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen we haven't seen anything of him. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I can tell
this
you
is
right
our
now,
first look, and I'm like,
again, like you just said, when I was in the theaters, I just made sure I was like, hey, are there any credit in post credit scenes? Because I looked online real quick. Are there any? They said yes. The reason I really need to see them? Actually, no. I was like, no, I was ready to leave early on,
And to be
and just
completely honest,
but
you could have, and if
yeah.
anyone would have left after the movie finished and not caught these two scenes,
Mhm.
you wouldn't have been missing anything. To be
But
completely
and
honest
that's
with
what I'm
you,
trying to say. I stayed out of habit. Every
me
superhero
too,
movie I
me
do, I
too,
stayed out of
me too.
habit. It's just what we do, right? It's just what we do. But it's also again, like you just said, there's nothing to miss right now because we know there's going to be another movie coming later in a cup. What now? We're going to be waiting
About a
what, a
year and
year and a
about a year
half.
and a half. Yeah, it
Yeah,
got
because what
delayed
is it? Brand new day. Brand new day is now the next one
in
with
July. Yeah,
Spider-Man.
of next
So
year. Hmm
besides Daredevil, Born Again,
and
we're
that
gonna
and then
get.
that brand new day is confirmed to be a street level story. So this is not world ending
So
events.
this
This is
is
Spider-Man being a street level hero,
contained.
taking him
Yep.
back to his roots, self-contained story.
Yep.
So
And again,
any
and so
setup for
then,
Doomsday and Secret
and
Wars
like you
out of the
said,
window.
and like we were just saying, I think that's one of the best things about this movie. Again, they weren't trying to set up every single scene for a future movie. You know what I mean? Because you got to enjoy this one without having to be
Hmm
like, oh, cool. Now, oh, that's definitely an Avengers Doomsday thing. And or
Yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah blah. I did not once did this man like really bring up like multiverses. Like his teleportation thing was no teleportation within the freaking universe. Sure, I bet you that same teleportation thing is going to be the thing that gets them to the other universe.
Well,
You know what I
he
mean? He's
does
going to adjust it.
confirm
You know.
that alternate realities and
Hmm.
different and parallel universes are in different planes and
Hmm.
whatever. So he confirmed all that. That's
Yeah.
confirmed. He knows that
Mhm.
exists. So I'm
But he
sure
wasn't trying to go there, and that's what I thought was fine. You know what I mean?
exactly.
He's like they can stay
Hmm
there, but cool, stay there, have fun. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm saying. And but like one thing we could do right with those, like they made the references to the, a lot of the characters like in very quickly, like their I guess their legacy characters, everything from Mole
hmm
Man, Diablo, Mad Thinker, Puppet Master, Red Ghost. Obviously, they didn't get many scenes. Mole Man was hilarious. I love him from that guy from
No, he was
Cobra
great.
Kai. He was
Yeah,
hilarious,
yeah,
and then he was so again, he didn't get every freaking scene in the movie, but the scenes he was in was hilarious. I was like, that's great. I love that he's Mole Man.
yeah, yeah,
With that
yeah.
said, I think the overall, knowing 828 is also a homage to Jack Kirby. This is the best part. The best part is that they made sure this was Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four. You know what I mean?
For sure.
This was a setting of a very futuristic 80s feel of a planet of a universe. This is who they are, and it's like you got the feeling that you're like this is like a straight up like, hey, this is out of the comic book. This was never going to go in any other way.
hmm
Now when we get into Avengers Doomsday and further, that's when we'll see a more modernized Fantastic Four and stuff, maybe with different costumes.
Speaking
I
of
hope
costume,
they don't
I do like
recast.
that we got to see
You know,
them in the original costumes.
oh yeah,
I
those
did
are
like that.
they're so good looking. They look great. Like they
They
look
looked
so
great.
good. I'm like, oh my god, it's like it made it so simple. It was like this, yeah, this is what they look like. Here's the color scheme, and
Yep.
so on and so forth. Like I love that. It was such a good time. And again, it's great to see that they're giving Jack Kirby more of his his flowers and stuff like that. And the end of the day, it was sweet to see that 828 is his birth month, his
Yeah,
birthday, and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff. And it's
hmm
like you're like, that felt good, and as a whole, and the the
Did
to
you also
see all
catch
these things.
the
Hmm.
speaking of homages, the one little scene with the little office scene where at the
Oh
wall you
yeah,
see timeless comics and it's like
yes,
Jack Kirby and
Stan
Stan
Lee and
Lee.
Jack.
That
Yep,
was
yep.
great. That
That
was
was
great.
great.
Loved
Yep,
it.
it was
Loved the
beautiful. It was like
homage. That was beautiful.
I was like the creators. I love it. I was like they're there, and then technically they were drawing those comic
They
books
were
for
drawing those comic
they were
books. Yeah,
still drawing
yeah,
Fantastic
yeah.
Four comic books, but they were living in the world, and I'm like, no, I love it. And then of course
That was
fun
great.
jokes like, hey, I only say that in the cartoon, clobbering time, and
hmm
stuff like that, and so on. And again, I didn't even realize that he never said flame on, which Now I'm sad.
Not
Like, it's like,
once.
oh my
He does
God.
not say
I
it,
was like,
not
word.
once.
It's
And we all,
wild.
and
And
then we have Johnny forcing the clobber in timeout to
mhm,
make it
yeah.
worthwhile. You know what I mean? But
Oh, and oh man, and the unsung hero, bro. You didn't even put him on the list. Herbie.
Herbie,
Fucking love that robot, man. I
Herbie, yo,
love
he
that
was ready. He
robot.
was ready to risk it all for Lil Franklin, yo. He
Yo,
wasn't playing.
dude, I'm like, even his. I hope they
Hmm.
freaking put subtitles for what he says one day for us. Like, I just want to see the shit that he's saying. Like,
Hopefully,
I'm sure he's
hopefully,
dropping some
when it
f
drops on
bombs.
Disney
He's like,
Plus.
I know, or something. He's probably more vulgar than we ever think about, and but everybody understands him somehow. Like everybody understands him. I'm like, I want to understand him. I want to know what Herbie
Yeah,
says. Like he's
no,
freaking
me too.
awesome. And again,
Absolutely.
comic accurate Herbie. But again, I think I loved it. I had a great time. I had a great time. I like this month of movies. Good time.
Was great. Was
I
great.
have like these two blockbuster movies. Such a good time. And Fantastic Four did not disappoint. At least I can say that much. Like this was one.
Absolutely.
They won. They won it. They've. I think they won the Fantastic Four. Like war, I guess you could say, between the other movies
No,
and
four times the charm.
franchises.
You know what I mean? Four times the
Exactly, right?
charm.
Oh, exactly. Fantastic Four, four times. It had to happen. It had to happen.
It had
First
to
one's had to
happen.
fail for this one to take its steps to the right direction. Well,
There you go.
there
It's
you go.
meta as hell. But all right, let's rate this and get the hell up out of here because
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and rate it 4 out of 5. So I'm gonna Nerdify certify this
Easily.
movie
Yes,
easily,
easily, sir. Yeah, Nerdify certified all day. That's it. I don't think.
It-
Oh shit! What is it? 90 plus score already online for the like other reviews
I
online.
believe so. I believe so.
Yeah,
I think it was like 89, 90, something like that on Rotten
beautiful.
Tomatoes. Last I checked, so it's
Ooh,
pretty high,
beautiful.
man. Audience
That's
score, I'm pretty
awesome.
sure is in the low 90s. I'm not. I got to double check. Don't
That's
quote me on
perfect.
that.
That's all that
But
matters. That just means someone got mad that they probably got mad that Galactus didn't have enough lines. He didn't do
yeah, no.
enough.
But he had a lot of
You know what I
decrees
mean?
though.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, that's essentially our review and our
Mhm,
breakdown, our analysis, our deep dive to the Fantastic Four first steps. Obviously, if you
mhm.
guys made it to the end of the video, you know what that means. You mean you like what we have to say. You like us as your host.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys support the channel by subscribing, giving
Please
us
and
a
thanks.
like, leave your comment, please and thank you. If
Mhm,
you obviously that'll help the channel grow. I was about to say the
mhm.
child. This is our child. That'll help the
Yeah.
child grow. You know what I mean? So get us there. We'll be
Uh,
back in a couple of weeks with a brand new
mhm.
episode. Not sure yet what will we cover on that episode,
That
but
might be a news episode and maybe something. I
I,
don't know.
I- I've
We'll
been
figure
I've,
it
I've
out.
been kind of dying to do just kind of like shoot the shit
Mhm.
with some news and shit, you know. So I guess we
Hey,
can
I
do a
think
news
that's because
episode.
again, I don't think next month has any movies,
I
so who
mean,
knows?
there's no. I mean, not really. They do, but not really. But we can
Mhm.
maybe talk about Sandman. But we do have Peacemaker next month. We'll definitely
Oh,
be
that's true.
reviewing Peacemaker.
Mhm,
Once it
mhm,
wraps, though, we'll probably do one episode where we cover the first 2 episodes or so. If we
mhm.
get screeners, then we'll cover it early. But we'll see. We'll let you
Yeah,
guys know on
we'll
social
let you
media.
guys
But
know.
again, keep up with the Nerdy Basement literally everywhere on social media, especially TikTok for daily
Yes, sir.
videos and things of that
Mhm, mhm.
nature. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. We'll see you guys on the next one. As always, stay nerdy, my friends. Peace.
Peace.